Okay, sounds good. Good.
All right. Yes, good. Okie dokie. It is recording. Hello, YouTube, probably primarily YouTube, but also any other platforms that are watching this. Hope you're doing well. This is the second episode, I suppose, of... We have no title for this, Solana.
I know. We have to think of one. Maybe next time.
Second episode of... No title. I don't know. We'll find one. Second episode of something, but maybe by the time it's posted, I'll have a title for it. I'm not sure. For those of you who don't know what this is my little experiment, my little side experiment project to try and get some more content out. So the concept is pretty straightforward. Solana interviews me about different things in relation to language learning. I answer. We then post a video to YouTube, and then Solana goes and takes a couple of quotes and such and makes some graphics out of it to post on other social networks. So with that aside, Solana, what would you like to ask today?
So my first question is, if individuals don't want to partake in classes right now, do you have any tips for how they can learn alone or start their journey by themselves and then maybe continue on to classes? Do you have any tips?
I don't think you have to take classes, to be honest. I don't think anyone has to take classes. Some people, for some people it can be good, and other people maybe not as good. So if you don't want to take classes, depending on the language, there's almost certainly going to be some kind of study at home program. So if you literally go into Google, I can even do it now. I can share my screen and we can do it together. So let's share, let me share my screen here. Okay, is my screen showing?
Okay, yes, it is.
Like I literally searched like, I don't know, like study at home program for, I don't know, Japanese.
Okay.
Search it, and there's going to be, the first link here, 14 outstanding online courses for learning Japanese. Great, let's open that one. We scroll through. There we go. Oh, close that. Japanese Pod 101, cool. You can check out all the pricing info here. Let's do that. You open it, you look at the tab, you read, you do some research. So you Google it, you'll find lots of different programs depending on the language. Read about the programs, like read the websites. Check some reviews, like third-party reviews, like Google. For example, here we had Japanese Pod 101. Google next Japanese Pod 101 reviews, read some blogs and websites, see what people have to say.
Okay.
And then check out some reviews for a few programs and take your pick.
Amazing. Great. And do you have any sort of like time that you would say that you should dedicate every day to studying a language? Like 15 minutes a day or 20, or does it depend entirely on you?
More is better. So if you can do, theoretically, if you could do 12 hours a day, that's great. You have to keep in mind people have lives. You might get tired. You might not want to do that. You might have a job. You might, who knows, right? Of course, the same way I can't go exercise for 12 hours a day. Yeah. Maybe I could, but have to like really train my way up to it and build my way up to it. Oops, my headphone fell out. Let's take it. I think I'd probably recommend, if you're really new at learning languages, start off by doing like, a couple days a week, start off small and build a habit around something small, like 2 days a week, maybe like half hour on those 2 days.
Okay.
Start off small and then build on it.
Okay.
That's one way to view it. I do think it's important for people to have a good, hard look in the mirror and really think about their personality as well. Because some people really are all or nothing type of people. That's how some people are. Like I know someone I'm teaching right now who has told me flat out, like, hey, I'm taking like a one class or 2 classes a week right now, doing some homework, but like when I can get time off from work, I want to go study full time because that's like how I am. I want to go study and that's all I want to do for like 3 weeks. Like I can't do that now because I'm working and stuff, but I want to do that at some point. And some people are like that. And so, I think the best way to summarize that advice is, generally speaking, I'd probably say start small, build on it over time. But, think about like what your personality is and think about if that's going to be best for you or not. and then make a decision based on, based on what you know about yourself, and then know that you can always change. You can always change if it's not working.
That's true. Perfect. My next question is, just for you and how you teach people, how do you incorporate different learning styles into the way you're teaching? Because everyone learns a bit different. I don't know if you kind of individualize it based on the person once you get to know them, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I usually pay attention to, there's two things. I'll ask them different questions about their learning style. You often have to phrase the question in a multiple different ways, because different phrasings of the same question make people's brain go in different ways. So if I said, what's your learning style? If I ask you directly, that's fantastic. And you might have an answer and you might not. Everyone's different. Some people don't know. But then I might ask you something like, well, how have you studied French in the past? They might say, oh, well, I took a class at the blah, blah, blah center. Oh, how did you find that class? And they say, well, it was okay. The teacher kind of didn't speak any English, and so it was really frustrating because I couldn't get my questions answered. Boom. Now that tells me immediately, oh, interesting. When they had a teacher who didn't speak English, that was really bad for them. Versus I've also had the opposite, where people are like, yeah, I took this class and it was so great because the teacher didn't speak any French or any whatever. And it like really pushed me. I'm like, oh, interesting. So they actually like that you learn about them, right?
Right.
So sometimes you have to ask different types of questions,
Mhm.
and then you have to hear what their answers are to figure out how they're going to learn best. And ultimately, in my experience, it's a constant process of paying attention to like both unconscious body language and things people say, and also consciously, like directly what they tell you. Like, hey, like just the other day, someone told me, Azren, can we change topics of what we're learning? We were focusing on a topic. She's like, can we do something different now?
Mhm.
And she's like, I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, it's been like 3 weeks on the same topic, and I feel like we're beating a dead horse, and I'm losing interest. And I was like, all right. And again, that's a private class. In a group class, it's harder to accommodate to someone's precise needs that way, but you do your best.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Then I'm going to say, how do you feel about people learning or like maybe developing their language skills using like TV shows and movies and stuff like that? Would you recommend it? Or anything like that? Like any outside resources or resources that you could access very easily in your daily life, like just small transitions, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Movies and TV shows, I'm of split mind, because I've seen people land on both sides of the coin. There's some people that swear by it and they love it, and that was really how they learned. I met plenty of people who said, I learned English by watching Ellen. I learned English by watching this show. I learned French because I watched this, and I just watched it and started copying him, and suddenly my brain started to pick it up and I'd figure it out, and it's like, wow. And I've also had people who watch movies and TV and such, and they go, what the heck is happening here? That I don't understand anything. This is so hard. I'm not learning anything. And personally, I'm more in that camp. I can't just watch movies and TV and just suddenly start to learn. So I kind of am of a split mind. I think it could go either way on that one. That one really depends on the person.
All right, perfect. I'm not sure if you have time for this question, but I was just going to ask you, what inspired you to be a teacher, and how has a teacher inspired you, especially with language learning?
So for teaching, I think it came because my mom's a teacher and I grew up with it, and it was always something I saw and was around, I suppose. And then my first like real job had a lot of teaching elements to it. There was a lot.
Window business?
Yeah, when I worked at the window cleaning franchise.
Okay.
So there are lots of training. There's a big part of my job, especially when it was my full-time job. A huge part of my job was training, coaching, running training sessions, like standing up and teaching a session on blah, blah, blah with my PowerPoint, right? Going out and observing people performing a specific skill, whether it's window cleaning, whether it's selling, whether it's interviewing, whether it's whatever, and giving feedback on it. Like, and me getting feedback on different things and trying to get better. Like there's a lot of kind of this. There's a lot of teaching involved, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think those are probably two big things. I grew up with it, and then I really liked it at all the teaching elements at that job. And yeah.
And what have you found the most challenging with teaching?
The most challenging thing about teaching? That's a good question. Probably the most challenging is it's when teaching is not the only focus of the class. Typically, this happens with kids,
Right.
where kids, for example, you're dealing with behavior and keeping them focused and teaching. You're doing two things, right? In order to be able to teach effectively, you also have to get their interest, manage their behavior, and there's an extra side to it. And with adults, you still have that, but nowhere near to the same extent.
For sure.
An adult is not going to go and goof off, hopefully, during the class, or an adult. That being said, though, you still have to get adults' attention. You still have to. There's still other elements in play, but definitely I feel it more with kids. I find to feel it more with kids, and that's
for sure.
Probably a challenge, I would say.
And how do you get kids interested in the language? Because I'm assuming it's their parents who enroll them and kind of hope to get that started. So for a kid who's not necessarily really into, sitting down and doing a little bit of Spanish or French every day, like how do you kind of hold
games, humor. Humor's a big one.
Okay.
If you can learn to be funny, that really helps. And kids have different humor than adults, obviously, but if you can learn to be funny with kids, and that helps a lot. Getting to know the kids, incorporating any interest they have into the class, showing them things about your life that have nothing to do with the class. What else? Also, expectations are a big one. Setting and holding expectations is a big one. It's not all about fun and games. It's also about, hey, look, we got to do this today, and that's what we're doing today. Like, there's also that kind of hard line as well that's important. If kids are very clear on what we're working towards, and adults too, by the way, if we're very clear on what we're working towards, with kids, it has to be done differently. That's probably another whole episode. Maybe the short version of it is like an adult, you could literally show them. The kids can't read as well. That's a big thing. Kids can't read as well as adults. That's a big one. So if you're explaining and you're trying to show visually, here's what we're working towards. An adult, you might just show them a chart, or not a chart, sorry, a table. You might literally draw a table, like a to-do list. It's like, here's what we're gonna do. Boom, 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 boom. And it's like 7 bullet points, just a blank black and white table, and I used to have a check marks beside when they do it well. Versus a kid, they can't read that. They might not be able to read that very well, especially if they're young. So instead, you might still have text, meaning that much bigger pictures, right? We're going to learn greetings, and you have a picture of someone like waving or something. We're going to learn this, and you have a picture of whatever. And that's important for adults because, funnily enough, not all adults can read very well. But also especially important for kids.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. I have I have a thing that starts literally right now, so we're in like 1 minute. So
yeah, okay, perfect. I'll let you go. I will redo the graphics for you and then send it to you. And
what are you redoing? Which graphics are you redoing?
Well, I think I'll take your advice and then kind of.
For the ones you sent, you don't have to redo those ones. I think just for future ones.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're fine. The ones you sent are okay. Like everything you've sent recently is fine. I just for the future ones. Let me stop this recording. Actually, it's still recording. Hang on. See you, everyone. Bye bye. Let me stop the recording.